Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Have you ever had somebody step into your life, and when they came into your life, you realize that this person was, going to make a difference in your own personality? Well, I've had somebody like this enter into my life, and I've actually asked this person to be on the show today because the thing that immediately struck me about this person was that she is very open and very forthcoming and very honest and very caring and I could go on and on and on. But here's the neat thing. Danielle is somebody with one of those awesome personalities. I mean, when you start talking to her, you just sit back and you go, I really like her. She is really cool. And then as you start to allow that conversation to unravel and unfold, what you find is that there's a lot of interesting things that make up Danielle's life. Now, Danielle came into my life at one time because we're both members in Lifestyles Unlimited. And what I found absolutely interesting about her is the fact that she started real estate investing at a young age. And she was advised by her father that this is a path that she needed to look into, explore, and, deal with. And you know what? She followed her dad's advice. When you hear her on the show today, you're going to realize that this lady has a lot going on for her. I mean, a lot. And more importantly, she has changed the path of her life by, she stopped doing what society told her to do, which is, keep putting money into a 401k or an IRA or whatever society told her to do for retirement. She listened to what we say at Lifestyles Unlimited, and she put her hard-earned money to work for her in real estate, and it is paying her dividends along the way. So with no further ado, let me bring Danielle on. Danielle, are you there?
I'm here, Al. Thanks for having me, and thank you for saying such nice words.
Well, it's so easy to say nice things about you because you're just, let's just call it what it is. You're a nice person. And I enjoy whatever time I get to spend with you because first of all, I always get uplifted. And second of all, I always, be honest with you, I find out something very interesting and I tend to learn something about my own real estate business just listening to you talk about what you have done. So let me take you back a couple of years before your dad gave you that advice. What were you doing for retirement planning, if anything at all?
Yeah, so for me, it all actually kind of started in 2012. I had been working in the banking industry for about 5 years, and I started to realize that my job was it was not going to take me where I wanted to go. My whole working career, I'd worked multiple jobs, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs at a time. I lived very thrifty, and I squirreled money away any way I could. But I just felt like my goals were nowhere near something that I could reach. And, at the time, my goals were very modest. Like, I wanted to go on vacation for once in my life. Like, I'd never gone on vacation. And I wanted to buy a car that wasn't as old as I was. And I wanted to go back to college, but not drown myself in debt. And so at my job, I was investing all that I could in a 401k. They had their match requirements, and I was at that. I was investing, as a young person in my 20s, 16% of my income just in my 401k. I was also saving additional money in a savings account, but 16% of my income I was putting in a 401k. And I'm a very analytical person, and so I was heavily on top of it. I monitored it regularly. And when I looked at it, I was tracking to retire with maybe $500,000, probably not even that. And, when I ran the numbers at my modest lifestyle of maybe using $30,000 a year, I was lucky if I was going to get 16 years out of that. And so if you think I'm going to retire at 65 or 67, and then I only have money for 16 years. That's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah, it's very sad when you consider that the life expectancy of Americans is continuing to get longer and longer and longer. What were you projecting for your life expectancy?
Well, it's funny. My father's father is, still alive. Both of my grandparents are still alive, and they're both in their 80s. And my dad's dad, I point him out because he's not the most healthy. He has diabetes, along with probably some other health conditions, and he's in his 80s. He's not doing all that well, and he still made it to 80s and still chugging along. And I'm a pretty healthy person, so I expect to live longer than that, or at least I'm hoping. My great-grandparents made it to their 90s, so at least, I got to at least do that.
Yeah, the math doesn't work, especially in your case, because, you get to age 60, let's go 64 to make the math easy for everybody. You burn through all of that money you put away. Next thing you know, you're 80, you still have probably 10 plus years remaining of your life, and you're broke.
Yeah, and most people can't really work a full-time job at that age.
Yeah, I'm in my mid to late 50s, and I'll tell you what, the prospect of working anymore is just kind of a painful concept for me. But I've got all kinds of issues that occurred to me during my time in the military. But this isn't about me. This is about you. So when we come back from the break, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Danielle about how she got involved with real estate investing, and we're going to learn how it changed her outlook on life. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. So if you're just joining us, you're in for a big treat because I've asked Danielle to come on the show with me. And why I think it's a big treat for you is this. She has a very interesting story. She was doing things the way society told her to do things. She was jamming money into her 401k and, trying to save her way to retirement. But along the way, she figured out she wasn't going to make it based on her projections, based on, you can add in cost of livings and things like that. She was going to fall short, and what she was very concerned about was getting to a point in her life, running out of money and maybe only having Social Security left to live off of, and maybe living for another 10 more years or more after running out of money. And that didn't sit well with her. Now, her father, who's also a Lifestyles Unlimited member, kind of put his arm around her and said, there is a better way. And she listened to what he had to say. She became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited herself, went through our financial freedom education program, which is designed to teach you everything you need to know to be a successful real estate investor, either in the single family or the multifamily space. You choose. You can do both if you want. And she went through that educational program, and what she's going to tell you now is how it changed her life.
Yeah, Al. So I actually want to kind of give just a little backstory of the struggles that I had before I found Lifestyle. And I think that this is important because I feel like a lot of people go through this and they don't know where to go from there. And so, when I'd already kind of come across that what I was doing was not working, I thought, well, what can I do? And so I did what most young people, what most millennials do. I went on Google, and I started searching for ideas. and I stumbled upon the idea of creating income with real estate. And the thing is, the internet can be a dangerous place. There's a lot of misinformation. You can see something that sounds like, hey, this is a good plan, but then it might be talking about stuff in a different state, and where you live, it might be totally different. And so you got to really weed through a lot of information. You got to do a lot of reading. And so I drug my feet. Again, this started in 2012. I drug my feet, and in 2014, I finally had a plan, and I started my ventures in real estate. And the first thing that I did was I moved out of the home that I was living in, that I'd lived in and owned for 5 years, and I rented it out. And my goal was to buy another property that could eventually be rented out and create income for me. Wash, rinse, repeat. If I kept doing that model, I would have all this money. And so my plan was to do all conventional loans at the financial institution that I was actually working at. I knew the ins and outs. I'd been all over the company. I knew just about everything that a person could know about banking and mortgage loans and everything. And so I thought I was prepared. And for 2 years, I struggled. I struggled just to get property number 2. I didn't do it. And I had money. I had a plan. And I put several contracts in on houses, and nothing stuck. And you find a property and you think, this has great rental potential, and then I would discover that it needed foundation work, and I would be terrified, and I would back out. Or I'd find a property that was great, and I'd submit my contract, and I'd start my application with the lender, and they would have endless hoops to jump through, even though they were my own employer, and I was thinking I was being a wonderful employee, keeping my business with them, and it just didn't work out. They would constantly move the goalposts and find new documents that I needed or proof, or suddenly come up with more money on top of all the money I was already going to be spending, and it was frustrating. And so I just kind of felt like, where is this going? I'm no closer to that goal. I've got one property, and it was making money for me. I was getting about a $600 cash flow. So as, a young person in their 20s, to get an extra $600 a month is just mind-blowing. And me being the thrifty person that I was, I put all of that in savings. I didn't spend very much of it. And at this time, this is kind of like you were saying, this is when my dad was watching me go through this struggle. And I really consider my dad, his name is Marvin, to be my mentor. And honestly, he's like my closest friend. I can tell my dad anything. We have a very good, open relationship. And this whole time that I was struggling to get property number 2, he was listening to Del Walmsley on the radio. He'd been doing this for about 2.5 years. And he would always call me and be like, hey, I want you to tune in. He would have me listen after church on Sundays. And I would, I'd listen to it, and I was like, yeah, this sounds nice. And he'd be like, I really think you should look into this lifestyle thing. And I kept always responding, I've got real estate. I don't need this. I don't need this. And then finally he got tired of my struggles. And so what he did was, in July of 2016, he sent my sister, not me, not him, he sent my sister on a reconnaissance mission to check out this lifestyle thing. The reason why he didn't go is my mom would not let him spend the money. And so if my sister went, no harm, no foul. It's her money. And so I think he did pay for her to become a member, and she scoped it out. And she went to the seminar, and she came back raving about it. She was like, Dad, this is everything that you've been talking about. And so with that, my dad secretly joined and went, and same thing, solidified this is where they needed to go. And my mom had reservations because back in the 80s, they had a property, they were in the military, and when they had to PCS, change locations to a different base, they couldn't sell the property, so they rented it out, and they had a bad experience with it, and so she's just always been scared of real estate. And so my dad went, my sister went, and he came back and told me, you need to do this. And so I trusted my dad, and so I said, I'll go. So in October of 2016, he was able to drag my mom and myself, and we all went to the seminar. The person that gave it was David Fisher, and I sat through it. I don't even think I made it through the half of the first day, and I just felt like I was so excited, smiling ear to ear. This was exactly what I needed, and I felt like I was kicking myself that I hadn't done it sooner. And so after the 2-day, I immediately, not only did I join, I immediately went to the Challenge Program, which is the program that helps people with buying single-family properties. And I want to give a little bit more backstory because the plan at this time, my dad was heavily involved with, how I got here. And so we kind of teamed up and decided to be like a father-daughter team and do everything together. And we kind of, through the seminar, learned about a family office, which is something that rich people do. They have people that manage their success. And so obviously we're doing that on a smaller scale, but we thought we're going to work on ourselves until we get to that level.
Well, I think you opened your eyes. I think you listened to what was being taught. And I think you basically ran out of the gates and started doing things correctly. And we come back from the break, we'll get back into Danielle's story, and we'll be back right after this.
Warning. Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. Did I tell you that Danielle had a bubbly personality? I mean, she does. And you know what? She's got a lot of energy to go along with that personality. And as we were going through her story, she was talking about the different things that occurred throughout her short life. I mean, she's a lot younger than I am. And we had gotten to the point where we were going to start talking about, well, what did she do after she took the educational program at Lifestyles Unlimited? And of course, we had to go to commercial break. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Danielle and let her pick up on her very interesting story. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thanks, Al. So, the last thing that I mentioned was my dad and myself, we decided to work as a family unit and kind of create a small family office. So what that meant was we ran our numbers on every property together. We walked properties together. We came up with our rehab strategy together. We looked for tenants together, and we screened them together. We were a team. And so with this plan, we went to that first seminar, and we followed David Fisher's advice, and first thing we did was got pre-approved, and then we started looking at properties. And what we ended up doing was, we went to the seminar multiple times, and it's a lot of information. And so we actually went 3 months in a row. And every single month, I was still just as excited. I learned new stuff every time. And so what we did was go to the seminar, come back, strategize, and say, well, okay, let's do this. And then we'd come up with new questions, and then we'd go back. We'd ask our questions and build upon our plan. And so what we ended up doing was, I told you, I joined in October. So October, we hit the ground running, and we started looking at properties. And in November, we found a property, and we're under contract. And so what ended up happening was we bought the first property in December of 2016 and then kept searching. And so in December, we were already under contract for another property after joining Lifestyles. And so that's something that really resonates with me. I like to talk about that because, to me, Lifestyles was amazing. Something that I struggled with for 2 years. Lifestyles resolved in a month. And, that's so powerful to me because doing it on your own, you can have so much effort, you can try your best, and sometimes things don't always work out. Sometimes you need help. You need somebody to take you by the hand and tell you, I've done this, I recommend you do this. And then at a certain point, you have to have faith, and you just have to, try it. And so, my dad and I, like I said, we went multiple times in a row, and what ended up happening was, we're under contract for property number 2, after joining Lifestyles. And then we kind of looked at each other and said, you know what? He talks about this thing about multifamily. I think we should look into that. And, as a young person, I didn't ever realize that multifamily was something that real people did. I just assumed that was something that corporations or really rich people did. I never knew that was something that was attainable for me. I'd never heard of it. I'd never really even heard of passive income. And so what ended up happening was we came up with our plan and we said, you know what? We've got enough money. We think it's a good idea. We should go to multifamily. So we went for that third month in a row, already under contract for single-family properties, and we decided to upgrade to the preferred program and really look into this multifamily investing. We could pool our money together as a family, or, we could invest passively with other people, and, we could do so much more. And so that was the next thing that we did was we decided we'll take the leap. This already has worked out for us, so why not go further? And that's what we did, and we've had nothing but success. So what ended up happening was in 2017, it took a little while. I'm a very analytical person. I like to research things to death, and so I wasn't 100% ready. I wanted to make sure that I was prepared, that I had enough money, that I understood enough. And so what ended up happening was in August of 2017, we got into our first passive deal as well. And then at that point, I kind of exhausted all my capital, and so it was kind of like, okay, I've done everything that I can. Let me just continue working on my education. And Lifestyles is great. There's so many different things that they can help you when it comes to education. If you like to learn, they're going to help you learn all that you can. And you never will learn everything. It's just impossible, but you can at least learn enough to feel comfortable and feel like you made a right decision. And so, after the investments that we made, it was like at that point we were just in learning mode. We actually kind of got more involved with the community. We started looking into the apartment association and doing additional training through them. And then what ended up happening was, you start to look at, well, what can I do now? And that's the thing. When you buy real estate, when you build income for yourself, it's almost addictive. You look at how it can change your life. I was a young person making probably something around $30,000 a year, and then to suddenly make $15,000 or $20,000 a year from real estate, it's life-changing. I didn't do what you would think most young people would do, which is go out and buy a bunch of useless crap, buy fancy things. No. If anything, it made me even more thrifty to save my money because I could save my money and buy more real estate. And, everybody's goal is to retire themselves. I used to think that retirement was when you were an old person and you couldn't work and then you decide to start living off of that money. And now I fully understand that real estate is when you can make that decision that I don't have to work anymore. Now, I still work. I haven't fully retired myself. My plan originally was, 2020 was going to be my year. I was going to sell properties and do more investing, and then COVID happened. And so, you kind of have to step back and say, is my plan working, and adjust. And so what I've done this year is I've set myself up. Last year we actually were selling properties down. So the first property that was purchased, actually the second property that was purchased, the one that was purchased in January of 2017 was sold. The other property that was purchased in December of 16, we still have it. It's still cash flowing. It still makes sense. So we're still keeping that. It's one of those things that when the people that are living in it right now, we've had the same tenant for all 3 years, going on 4 years. When those people decide to move on, that's when we'll make the decision to sell it or possibly sell it to those people. But basically at that point, you just come up with your plan of what am I going to do now? And so what I ended up doing is I decided to sell my personal residence. And I have a lot of debt equity in it. And so what I'm going to do is sell my house. I'm going to go live somewhere else. I'm honestly not worried about that. Anywhere is fine. But use that equity to further my investments, to further my goal of retirement. So although I didn't quite work out to retire in 2020 as a 33-year-old woman, I really do feel that 2021 is going to be where it's at. I have a plan written out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly how much money I'm going to have. And I really think that I'll be able to replace all of my expenses and the income that I receive from working with my passive investments.
Yeah, you should be excited. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm going, man, I'm ready to jump up and down, and be your cheerleader because I'm excited for you. I think it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish, and the fact that you've been able to retool your strategies. Not just your long-term strategy of how you were investing for retirement, but you continually look at and make adjustments in your game plan going forward. I mean, none of us knew COVID was going to hit until COVID hit. And I think a lot of us were, kind of in shock when COVID hit because none of us really understood how it was going to affect our lives. Well, we've got a better understanding now, but along the way, all you did was sit back and take a look at the current plan and make minor tweaks so that it would keep you on track. When we come back from the break, she's got more information to share with you, and we'll be back right after this.
Here's Lifestyles Unlimited founder and CEO, self-made multimillionaire, and national radio host, Del Walmsley, on the effective way to run a business.
There are people that run their businesses on a shoestring. If you own an apartment complex and you have no cash, that's not a very effective way to run a business. My businesses, each and every one of them, have cash savings. In other words, we can make no money or make very little money. We'd still survive. For those of you that haven't thought it through that far and you don't have any cash savings, let's get you in here and get you educated on how to save what you already own. The mom and pop businesses are going to take a major hit. If you've been running your business that way, you need to get into Lifestyles right now and learn how to operate your business the right way.
Lifestyles Unlimited has been helping people succeed since 1990. Join us for our free online real estate workshop and learn the 7 principles we teach to run our businesses and provide for our families. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. So we're talking with Danielle, and we got a really good insight into her life when it comes to changing the path that she was on and restructuring her retirement goals and objectives to include real estate. I mean, she essentially stepped away from all those things that society told her that she was supposed to do to be successful. And she followed the advice of her father, who's also a Lifestyles Unlimited member, and the advice of the mentors and the advice of all the people that she surrounds herself with in the Lifestyles Unlimited community, and it's made a world of a difference for her to the point where she was contemplating at the ripe old age of 33 of, just hanging up the hat, just not working anymore because she had gotten herself to a point in life where she could do that. And real estate investing was the catalyst that made that happen for her. But she also realized that one of the things that we focus on as Lifestyles Unlimited members is the concept of giving back. It's the concept that you have to help others along the way. I mean, Zig Ziglar said, you can get anything out of life if you help enough other people get what they want out of life. And Danielle, well, she took that to heart. And as a result of that, Lifestyles Unlimited was looking to expand its team. And the team at Lifestyles Unlimited is comprised of members who have made an informed decision that they want to give back. They want to help the membership. And the most important component of that team, in Al's opinion, is something called the Member Services Team. You see, the Member Services Team is dedicated to helping everybody in the Financial Freedom Program. They are there, and their primary mission in the organization is to be available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and to interact with our members who have questions about, what we are trying to accomplish as real estate investors, or questions on a component of the investing process. And it gives you the opportunity to interact with somebody who has walked the walk and is essentially talking the talk. So Danielle had the opportunity to come onto the member services team. And you know what? She decided that in lieu of hanging up her spurs, she would start the process of helping other people. So Danielle, you want to pick up on that and kind of talk to us about what you guys really do when it comes to being on the front lines?
Just like Al said, I, was still working a job and I was replacing my income with real estate, and the opportunity presented itself that Lifestyles was looking for people. And so I thought that would be amazing. At that point, I was working my job, but every person that would listen to me, I would go on and on and on about Lifestyles and how they help me. I'm that person that if you're on a Southwest Airlines flight and you sit down next to me and you mention anything about real estate, guess what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you about Lifestyles. I loved sharing my experience with Lifestyles to anybody who would listen, specifically people my age. A lot of people that are young in their 20s and 30s, they don't think that they can do this. And, my story is proof that you can. I'm single. I'm doing it off of my income, and I was able to make this happen. And so I was thrilled to have the opportunity to help join the member services team and talk to others about how real estate could change their life. The prospect of doing that as a career was just amazing because I was already doing it for free. Nobody was paying me. I was telling anybody who'd listen. And so I was so excited to join the member services team. And like what Al said, it's so true. What happens is what we do is we have various events. We have workshops, we have our case studies, and we have our seminar. And what the member services team is, they help introduce people to Lifestyles and help them decide if what Lifestyles offers can benefit them. And, we help people with their fears. We help them decide and come up with that plan of, is this something that could help them achieve their goals? And how we do that is based off of our own experiences. People call in and they say, hey, I listened on the radio. I think I want to learn more about this. How did you do it? And I am just so excited every day to come to work and tell people what I did and how it helped me and how it created success in my life. And that's everybody. Every single person that works for Lifestyles is involved in real estate in some manner. They have single family. They have multifamily. They do passive investing. They do a mix of everything. Every single person was just like you at that point. They made the decision to look into it further. They made the decision to move forward and take that first step and buy whatever that first property was. And so it's exciting for us to be able to work as a community and a team to help other people. We always talk about if you go to other industries, people aren't as open to share how they did it. Some people are, but not every place. And with the community that Lifestyles has created, everybody is so open to share what happened for them, how they did it, how much money, everything that it took to accomplish where they are at that time. They're so open and they're so excited and happy to share the story. And that's one of the things that Del Walmsley is really big on, the legacy of real estate. I can do something in real estate, even if I just go out and buy one property, and that money that I get gives me a little more breathing room, a little less of my time is owned by that employer that may see you as a number. They don't really care about you. They give the appearance that they care, but really they want profits and they want work and they want you to do everything that you can to help the company. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but as a person, you still have to have your own goals and you have to see your own future and your own success. You have to take command of that and do something with it. And so the legacy is, I start with me. I build success with me, and then I share it with others. I share it with my family. I share it with my friends. I share it with my neighbors. I share it with anybody who's willing to listen. And everybody in member services, everybody that works for Lifestyles shares this same attitude. And, I mean, I could say from my own experience, I already told you, my older sister, is a member with Lifestyles Unlimited. She's also a realtor. She became a realtor kind of along that process. She wasn't a realtor beforehand. My parents are both members. And just last year, my dad talked to his brother, my uncle, and my uncle is also a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, doing passive deals and, creating income for himself so that way he has breathing room and he doesn't have to depend on a job. And for some people, they enjoy working. You know, some people are like, I don't want to retire and just sit at home. You don't have to. You know, a lot of people use the income that they get from real estate, and then they take a step back and say, well, you know, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to volunteer at that animal shelter, or I've always wanted to do philanthropic work. But, you know, I still have bills to pay and I couldn't do it. Well, with your income that you receive from your investments, from your single family, your multifamily, your passive investments, you can buy back your time and you can do that. You can do whatever you want. You can stay busy. You can travel. You can take a job that pays nothing or volunteer. You have that freedom. And, you know, for people like me, I enjoy what I do. I love helping members. And so, you know, I have that breathing room, but I also can do what I want. And that gave me the courage to leave the banking industry. I worked in the banking industry for 11 years. I did just about any job that you could do in the banking industry, whether it be, you know, member-facing, back office, collections, titles, lending. I did everything. I was literally an assistant to a CEO of a very large financial company. And at the time, before I found real estate, I felt like that was my only option. You know, my only option was to work until I die, you know, basically. And when I finally found real estate, there were parts of my career in banking that I didn't enjoy. You know, the bureaucracy of it and the fact that a lot of places see you as a number. And real estate helped me get the courage to say, I don't have to do this forever. I built up my real estate, I left, and now I do something that I really, truly enjoy doing. And it's so powerful.
We've got about a minute left, so I've got one final question for you. What would you say to somebody that's sitting on the fence? They're not quite sure whether this real estate investing thing is the real deal, they're more concerned that maybe they won't be successful with it. What would you tell them to do?
I would tell them to give member services a call and talk to somebody. And you know what? End that phone call, wait a couple days, and call back and talk to somebody else and ask them. And that's what you have to do. You have to ask your questions. You have to feel comfortable in moving forward and learn about other people's success and come up with your own plan.
That's outstanding advice.
Well, like I said, that's how I did it. You know, somebody else said, look into this. I did my research, came up with a plan, and I'm doing it. I'm living it now.
We are at the end of the show, Danielle, and sadly to say, it's not a 2-hour show because I actually have a ton of things I want to ask you. But for those of you out there that are really trying to figure out, you know, how does this work? Why don't you come to one of our free workshops? Go to freeworkshoplivestream.com. That's freeworkshoplivestream.com.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.